Hello, guys. Welcome back. And today I'd like to talk to you about my feelings of meaningless about life, or feeling that life is meaningless. Maybe not only my life, but life in general is meaningless. That's a big statement to make, but it's just my feeling. Okay, so for about 20, I was going to say 20 years, but more than that, there's been this thread going through my life where it started um I've in the past I've thought, what's the purpose of life? Who am I? What am I? And of course you don't come up with any answers. Maybe if you meditate for years, you might come up with something. um I don't know. But it's a I suppose I'll just get to the point. The fear of death. Now, when I was 9 years old, not 9 years of age, I started crying, and I remember going to my mum and saying to her, "Mummy, why do we have to die? Why do I have to die?" I was sobbing. I was really crying, and she gave me a hug, to comfort me. And she said, "Oh, it's not going to happen for a long time. Why are you worried about these things?" And yeah, that kind of comforted me a little bit. And I had these visions of, being in a coffin, and what would it feel like to be dead? Even as a 9 year old, I kind of thought, if I put it into words now, death, we don't know what death is. All we know is what life is. The feeling of life, this experience, existence. We don't, how do you know what death feels like? It's strange. But around about this, in this the same time, the same period, in my bedroom, I saw like a kind of like multicolored cloud hovering in the top corner of my room, and I called my mum and dad, and I said, "Look, look, there's something there," and my parents couldn't see it, and it was kind of brownish. It had maybe red. It was like hovering in the corner. It was the size of maybe two soccer balls. It was just moving around, and it was a 3D. It was there, right? And so I jumped onto my dad. I was grabbing onto him, and he said I was hurting him because I was just squeezing him. I was so scared, and I was hugging my dad, and I can see behind him. I said, "Look, can't you see?" I remember saying, "Look, look, look, can't you see? Can't you see?" And remember, my dad said, "No, son, I can't see. Gerald, I can't see it." And my parents took me to the GP, to the doctor, and the doctor said, they just asked me, what do I like doing? What do I play with? I used to play with plasticine, but I did used to watch the Hammer House of Horror movies, and I was really into Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, you know, and their battles in the 1970s, all Dracula films, was it Frankenstein, Werewolf, all those. I used to love those films, and so my parents made the doctor aware and of the things that I used to like, and so he said, "Oh well, tell him to stop watching these films." Maybe I shouldn't have been watching them at that age anyway, 9 years of age. Um, but yeah, I used to love those films, and so he said his prescription was stop him from watching these films, and then we'll see. And I didn't see that this. I don't know what it was. This cloud. I didn't see it anymore. It wasn't really. It was just frightening. Like there was a cloud in my room, and only I can see it. Well, anyway, um, yeah, that's just something that I noted in that period. I don't know what it means. If it's some spiritual thing or something wrong with my brain. So this idea, this fear of death, kind of was always in the back burner. But life got in the way. And I had girlfriends. I did actually go to work for a short period of time when I was 16, and I suppose because I was happy with my mum and dad, I never thought about these things. And it's only when now that my parents have gone that I don't have a family anymore. I don't have a partner. I don't have a girlfriend. That I've fallen back onto, um, you know, the idea of our mortality, vulnerability, and yeah, especially the last few years. My dad's passed away. My and my marriage is not so good. So and now that everything is kind of collapsed, marriage collapsed. My dad passed away, and I've got no more family. I've got my kids, but they're too young, to understand. My daughter's only 8. My son's 8, and my daughter's 12. And my other daughter, she's 16, but she doesn't. Um, she's like in those teenage years where she's rebellious and she doesn't really. We don't communicate that much. Yeah. So going back to my point about meaningless of life, the way I see it is that I'm going to say something that maybe I haven't really said it, because I know if I say this, people will think you're crazy. You're really crazy. How can you? But I have to say it. I mean, this is like therapy for me, so I'm just saying it. I know I'm going to be ridiculed, and people are going to say, what a nutter. But that's what I am. Maybe not a nutter, but this is what I am, and I'm not going to hide who I am just because I don't fit in with society. Why should I? I've um I've avoided this for a long time, and I don't think I've even said this to a therapist. You know. Well, anyway, I feel that life is meaningless because you're going to lose it all anyway, because you're going to die, and so all your achievements, the houses that you've acquired, all the gold, money in the bank, is all going to be it's all going to be gone. I mean, you're going to be gone, so you can't utilize it, you can't use it. And the worst thing about this is, if now that I have children and I love my kids, just the thought of them dying just like breaks my like just breaks my heart into so many pieces. So I feel like, I know, and this is the cringe bit, right? Cringe bit coming, right? Cringe alert. I feel that I want to save them. I want to create an elixir of life that can either extend their lives for hundreds of years, or create an age arresting drug that will stop them from. You have a choice to die, basically. If you want to die, you stop taking the drug. If you want to live, you take the drug. You can still die accidentally, of course, but you know, technically immortal. Not immortal, but technically, if you're in a if if you're in a certain situation, certain circumstances are met, certain, not circumstances, certain um, criteria is met, you don't die. Anyway, so that's my nutty idea. And, there's so many nutty ideas and crazy ideas that I feel that this is nothing compared to some things out there, and some things out there that are actually acceptable. So I'm coming to think that my idea is not that crazy. I'm not harming anybody. I'm not asking for any help. You know, I don't know. This is just my idea, and I feel that going back to meaninglessness of life, or life having no meaning. If I think if I think about death, then I think there's no point to life, because you're going to lose everything. And that's one way you can actually love somebody, to know that that person will be gone one day. Sometimes I used to get angry with my dad, or sometimes my wife or whatever, and all I had to do is think of that. One day they'll be gone. If you think like that, then it's really easy to love. We often take and I definitely took my parents for granted, and the fact that I was happy, I took it for granted. I found out, you know, I'm finding out now that the love of, in my case, the love of my parents was so powerful, and they loved me so much, and they looked after me for so long. And my dad once said, he was saying, listen, when I close my eyes, then you'll be effed. You'll be in trouble. So he used to just say, look, you have to learn, you have to get a job, get a career, a trade, make enough money, and have a wife, children, and get organized, get established, so that one day when I'm gone, you'll be okay. That day never came. I mean, my dad left, and I'm still a disorganized wreck. I haven't established anything in my life. But yeah, so this is why I feel that, for me, I feel that my life is meaningless. There's no meaning. You know, if you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, you're just like a speck of um, dust, speck of sand in the Sahara Desert. You're nothing. You know, my cousin once said, when he was going through um, cancer therapy, chemotherapy, and he's okay now, but he was saying, Jero, Jer, that's a short name for Jero. Jer, he said, we are, what did he say? We're, I can't remember exactly what he said. He said something like we're replaceable, we're nothing, you know, we're discardable, or something like that. Basically, he meant, we're nothing. We're here one day, gone the next. And I remember my dad saying something about an auntie of ours that passed away. Her name was Pina, and his words just really shook me, because they're so true. So she passed away, and he said, "Oh, Bina, it's as if you were never here." And I thought, wow, it's so powerful, because it's true. Like, you're a ghost. You don't even exist. Yes, you exist, but it's only a matter of time where it's as if you'd never existed. It's it's mind-boggling. It's disturbing. For some people, it isn't disturbing, but for me, it is. You know, He said, it's as if you were never here. It's as if you never existed. Yeah, if you have family, they'll remember you. But for how many years? 100 years? Within 100 years, nobody will know. Her name is Pina Rizzotto. We'll, we'll never know who she was, what she did. You know, it might be in 1,000 years' time. It might be in a piece of paper, in a book, or in the computer somewhere. But they won't know what she did, what she liked. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And all of us are in the same boat. So what my dad said makes sense. It's as if you never existed. So it's as if we're like walking ghosts. We're all. It's like we're all dead already. And you see, many people are probably saying, "Yeah, no wonder this guy doesn't have any friends." But I don't talk about these things to anybody. I'm just saying it now in front of a camera, and I don't know if I'm going to upload this. So there was a period in China when I was living in China when I used to wake up in the morning and just love to wake up in the morning. I was ready to go. Why? Because I was actually working on this goal to create an elixir or something that can extend life. And I used to wake up every morning and experiment with certain substances, and but it didn't go really well. I started suffering from symptoms of neurotoxicity. My brain, I felt really terrible. Um, I was taking this white substance. It wasn't that one, a substance that I was actually creating, and I think there were heavy metals inside it because I didn't test it or anything. I just read old texts, old ancient Chinese texts, and I was trying things out. And obviously, I wasn't taking cinnabar or orpiment or lead or anything like that. I steered or mercury. I tried to steer away from certain heavy metals that are obviously dangerous. But I think heavy metals did actually creep into the solution because I used solutions that use heavy metals to create them. Well, anyway, I remember one night, I fell asleep and I had a dream. And in this dream, I was in limbo. I was floating around and I was trying to get to a door. It was really black. I'm trying to open the door, but I couldn't open the door and I was stuck. It's as if it's not an out of body experience. It's as if I was stuck in that dream and I couldn't get out of the dream. And it was terrifying. And finally, I woke up from the dream. I took the Trans-Siberian back from Beijing to London, and I was still taking this potion, this white powder. It was like a slurry, actually, like a cream, and taking small amounts of it on the train. When I arrived in Moscow, because I had to stay there for one night to get my next train from Moscow to Poland to London. I kept taking it, and I had this really powerful dream. I can hear horse hooves, and I can see frames, different colored frames on top of, picture frames on top of each other, and horses riding and making that sound. And it was just so powerful that the sound was so loud, and I woke up in a sweat. And you know what the sounds of the hooves were? My heart going. Oh, that was really frightening. So when I went to so that tonight I stopped taking it. When I went to London, I wanted to test to see if I had the neurotoxins in my blood, but I thought it was already too late because it takes 2 days to get from Moscow to London. So by the time I arrived in London, I was still groggy. But yeah, I think on the third day, everything dissipated. It went down. So I stopped playing around with things like that, and yeah. So I didn't think about like reading those texts on immortality and creating an elixir of life uh, until recently. And so now, I've been thinking about it again, but this time doing it, more intelligently. And I know the mistakes that I made in the past, and I probably use more, natural ingredients, and and make sure that I know where the sources of these ingredients come from, not just buying it something online. And then before I take this potion, actually go to send it off to at least see if there are heavy metals inside, to see if there is lead or mercury or other heavy metals that will affect your brain. So there's my video about why I feel that life is meaningless. I know, like, people are saying, probably say, yeah, you set yourself up to fail because everyone's going to die. But if you have that in your head, you can't change who you are. I've had this since I was a child, and no matter what anybody says, like, you're an idiot, you're crazy, I am what I am. I can't change, you know. Yeah, of course, people can change, but they can't really change so much. So, anyway, this is why I feel that life is meaningless. So, I don't know. Do you guys have any? None of you are probably none of you will have the same kind of crazy way of thinking or crazy thought that I have. But there may be one. There's always one, as they say. So give me a thumbs up, please. And probably most of you are going to give me a thumbs down. And share or like or subscribe if you want to hear more of my crazy thoughts. Okay, thank you very much for your time and patience. Listen to my stuff. Okay, bye.